Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to tonight's forum on the Firehouse Project. This is one in a series that we've been having to kind of inform the community about what we're doing, but also get input from the community about their thoughts and concerns. So I think, looking at the people in the room, I don't know the people online, so I'm going to kind of go over even some of the basics. At town meeting, if you were there, we talked about why we need a new fire station. And the answer is we need it because we have significant physical and occupational safety concerns for our personnel. And that's because the space and facilities are inadequate to properly clean, decontaminate, and maintain their gear and equipment. There's a lack of general security, including unsecured electrical panels, a file server, and network equipment that are out in the open and not secured. And the building is not compliant with current NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association regulations, and the currently recognized safety standards. That's largely due to the fact that we have a very old fire station. And so these standards were not in place when our fire station was built, but it is now time to replace it. So there's been a lot of talk about what sites or where we would site the building. The Fire Station Building Committee went through a long process from July of 2024 to, I think we selected a site in February of 25, and we selected 72 Stowe Road. But we brought it to town meeting to get the design funds, and there was not enough support from the community. We need a 2/3 vote for that. So we've had more time. There was also a zoning issue, which we'll talk about later, but this gave us more time to look at sites again. And so we've looked at a number of sites. Some of those have fallen off, but at this point in time, there's 4 sites still under consideration. 502 Mass Ave, which is where the current fire station is. And I'm going to talk about what the 4 sites are and then go through pros and cons of each one. 72 Stowe Road, which is just down from the current fire station, and then you turn onto Stowe Road, and the site's on the left, just a short way down behind the apartment building. We're also looking at 750 to 832 Mass Ave, which is 2 properties. And we're looking at 1300 Mass Ave, which we've looked in the past. The owner hasn't been interested in selling, but that has changed, and they are actually considering selling. So we are looking at it to see how viable it is for our needs. So for 502 Mass Ave, the pros of this site is that it's an established location. The town is used to it. Frankly, it would be pretty politically easy to sell to the town because as a site, because it's already there, it's already a disturbed site. But there are some limitations. There are site limitations that would affect the fire station operations. When we build a new fire station, because of the new codes and regulations, it will need to be larger than the current fire station. And the current fire station is already on a small piece of property co-located with the police department. If we make a larger fire station there, it's going to be difficult with the flow of traffic and the fire trucks, the people walking, and we would also impact any future expansion of the police department at that site. There's also cost, time, and challenges related to the need for swing space. So if we were to build a new fire station there, for the 1.5 years or so that we are building, we would need to move the fire equipment and the personnel off of that site to another temporary site, and they call that swing space. And there's a cost to that. There's a cost because you have to rent tents that are heated because much of our equipment has water and medications in it that cannot freeze. And so we need heated space, you'd need dormitory space, you'd need to have the workspace, you'd need to have it all connected so that they can communicate with each other in an emergency, and there's a large cost to this. There's also a time delay because it takes time to create that swing space and then move into it before you can start construction. That's a delay of about 6 months. And that delay actually accelerates all of the construction costs because, as we know, costs just keep going up. And so our estimate is about a $6 million differential between the 502 site and the 72 Stowe Road site. And a chunk of that, I think about $3.5 million, is related to the swing space costs and the delay in time because of the swing space needs. So those are the cons on 502. At 72 Stowe Road, this is a good site. It lets us lay out the program or the way the building is laid out so the people who work in the building can operate at maximum efficiency. And so it's a open piece of property. I mean, it would get cleared, part of it would get cleared, and so we could lay out the design optimally. So that's a big pro. And then there would be a purchase cost of $1.2 million, but it would be the town giving it to another part of the town, to the Affordable Housing Trust. They have not been able to use that property the way they wanted to build affordable housing, and so they are intent on selling it. If they sold it to us, then they can take those resources and do other things with affordable housing that they're looking to do. So that the pro is that it supports the Affordable Housing Trust. The con is there is a cost to it, the $1.2 million that we don't have at 502 because we own that property. The biggest con at 72 Stowe Road is there are abutters, and across the street there are a number of housing areas, and I forget how many abutters, maybe about 130. A good group of them are not in favor of having the fire station in their neighborhood. And so that is certainly a very important con of that site. At 750 832 Mass Ave, so if you're driving toward 495, you might notice on your left a rather derelict blue building. That's the beginning, and then we go down to a property that actually has a house on it that the owners have recently renovated. It would be those properties, and it would be situated there. The pro of this is, again, we think that the site can support a good program layout. The reason we're looking at two properties is if we just had the one property, the traffic flow gets difficult. When you have a fire station, you want the traffic flow, there to be one flow for the emergency vehicles and one flow for the public. You don't want the public commingling with the emergency vehicles. And we would, the property has wetlands on it, we would be constrained. We could not have that easy egress for two separate, for public and emergency vehicles. If we have the two properties, it opens it up enough that we can. So we're looking at the two properties there. And another pro, in addition to the program being optimal, is that it's a Mass Ave location, and this is favored by some residents rather than being in a neighborhood. The downside of 750 832 Mass Ave is where it's located, it's in a curve on Mass Ave, and so the sight lines aren't good. So you're pulling out, you're a firefighter, you're pulling out for an emergency, you need to see to your right and your left and feel confident you can pull out and go fast to that emergency. Currently, you can't do that at this site. We've had folks look at it, and their assessment is we would need to add what's called a control light. You may see this, I actually noticed on my way home in Sudbury at their fire station. There's one right there. Almost always yellow. I think I commute there 3 days a week. And I've never seen it go red, but if it does, my heart's going to go up. And that's what would happen here. It would control from both sides, stop the traffic so the firefighters could come out quite quickly. But another downside of 750-832 is there's an acquisition cost similar to 72 Stowe Road, but this time it's for 2 parcels. And we don't know the total price because one group we've talked to, the other one we would need to negotiate. So we don't know what the total cost, but we expect that it would be higher than 72 Stowe Road. The 4th site, 1300 Mass Ave. This is a 7-acre site. It should support the program well. It's also a Mass Ave location, and the site's already disturbed. So the reason that's a pro is for folks who are concerned about environmental impact. It's better to disturb a site that's already disturbed than to take down trees like we would have to on 72 Stowe Road. I will say, on 72 Stowe Road, somebody's going to buy it, somebody's going to take the trees down probably, and we would only look to remove trees for about 3 to 3.5 acres, and I think it's an 11-acre lot, and so we would leave a lot of trees, but 1300 already industrial parking lot, and so we're not disturbing anything. The cons are the current wells and septic are complicated. I'm not sure when it was permitted and all of that, but it's not ideal, and it crosses off of the piece of land that it overstreams and into another piece of land. So we would have to it is all one piece, it's one owned land, but we'd have to buy the whole piece, the big piece of it. We did have it looked at, and it can work for the fire station because the fire station would actually be considered not a public water supply, but a private water supply, and so it can fit on the piece of the parcel that we would purchase for this. But it is a little bit complicated. And then the other con for this is that there is an acquisition cost. This also would need to be negotiated. We expect it would be higher than 72 Stowe Road, but we don't know what that cost is at this time. So those are our sites under consideration. The committee's been talking through these issues, and as we get more information, we'll be making a decision. So we also wanted to talk about, so we have special town meeting coming up in October. There's a meeting on the 14th and a meeting on the 15th. It's all one meeting, but 2 nights. On the 14th, the first article that's going to be considered is a zoning article. Because if you recall from town meeting, from those of you who were there, we have a zoning problem in town where there was an error in the 90s that some people interpret as you can't put a municipal facility anywhere in town. Others say, well, you can if it's an existing site, but only an existing site. And so the planning board has worked on this. They met with the fire station building committee, the select board, and themselves, and we all met in June, I think, after town meeting, and talked about what we were looking for, what they were thinking about, and then they moved forward, and they are bringing a zoning article forward on October 14th. It is the first one they're bringing is Article 1, which seeks to allow a public safety facilities in all zoning areas by right. That means, so our town, the different parcels are zoned. Agricultural and residential is one zone. There's an industrial zone, a commercial zone. There's a couple other zones. This would allow public safety facilities to go in any of those, and you wouldn't need any special permission. Now, in our town, you have to understand, it doesn't mean then we would just go slap up a building without any town input, because we would need the money to slap up that building, and so the town has a vote on the money. And there's always public forums about sites and this and that. So The Fire Station Building Committee took a vote on this because, as you recall at town meeting, relevant committees will make a recommendation, and the Fire Station Building Committee unanimously supported allowing public safety facilities in all zoning areas by right. There's a second article that they're bringing that seeks to allow public safety buildings in town center to be up to 25,000 square feet. So a number of years ago, the folks were looking at our community and wanted to build a town center, make it a warm community area, and they put special zoning in place for the town center. Part of that was they didn't want big, huge buildings, a big apartment complex or condos or huge, tall, sky-rising building. So they limited it, and I think the limit is 8,000 square feet, but then if you get a special permit, you can go up to 15,000 square feet. Our fire station is likely to be much closer to 20,000 square feet. So if that stayed the way it is, we cannot place a building at the 750, 832 area because ours would exceed it. So the planning board has this article where it says public safety buildings in town center can be up to 25,000 square feet. So that would allow us to consider that parcel. And this one, the Fire Station Building Committee also unanimously supported. Okay. Then, because people are coming to town meeting, hopefully, on October 14th and maybe 15th, I'm not sure, we're hoping these will be taken on the 14th. I was like, well, the voters are right in front of us. I want to ask them some questions. And the committee tolerated me. Maybe some of them agreed with me. I don't know. So we have two sense of the meeting questions. These are non-binding questions, but we're trying to get the community's input. So the first one is to understand the relationship between location and cost for a new firehouse. This is the issue of 72 Stowe Road right now is the least expensive site, but it's in a neighborhood. We'd love to get it out of the neighborhood, but we've heard from the community that cost is an important factor. So we're trying to figure out where's the sweet spot for the community. Would the community pay, this is worded differently in the actual warrant, up to $6 million more. We're thinking that the differential between the sites wouldn't exceed $6 million. It could be only $2 million. We're not sure yet because we have this negotiation to do. But what's the town's appetite for paying more to be out of a neighborhood? If you guys say, we're willing to pay more to be out of the neighborhood, that's going to help our committee make that decision to spend more money so that we're not in the neighborhood. So we want to hear, where is the town? We know where the abutters are with this. They'd love it to not be in their neighborhood. But what about the rest of the community? You know, they're a vocal group. They come to town meeting. But if other people come, what's their opinion on this? So that's why we have that article. Then we have an article where we want to understand if the town is in support of building a new firehouse that uses a high level of green construction standards. So standards to have the lowest environmental impact. One thing to understand is with current regulations on the firehouse, there are certain standards that we have to meet already. So we would already have infrastructure to be PV photovoltaic, so solar panels, to be able to put those in place if we wanted them. You would already have high efficient windows and furnace. But what we want to know is, how does the town want to exceed that level and invest in even more energy efficiency? And what we're looking at here in particular is geothermal wells. So we actually did that in the school project that we built in Acton. The geothermal wells, you dig really, really deep, and the air comes up, and it's like a moderate temperature all year long, and you're bringing that air into the building, and you use it for heating and cooling. And it's a very efficient way, because you don't have to burn oil, you don't need electricity. I mean, might be times, like in the school, we did it such that on very, very cold days, they would turn the furnace on. But for most of the days of the year, they just rely on the geothermal heat or cooling. But there's a cost to that, to dig these wells and put in the mechanical parts that support all of it. So that's been estimated at about $1 million. And so this is a building that's going to cost a lot of money. To go with the geothermal wells, it would be an additional $1 million. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to invest in the long-term environmental impact of our community. We are a green community, and we work toward supporting that. So that's going to be under consideration to get the town's impact, the town's input on, are they willing to support that investment? And that's what I have for this evening, but I would love to take people's questions, comments, concerns. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see people in the community. And Johanna, let's see, can you just,
Hi.
Yeah, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So when you started this presentation, the first thing you said was that the current fire station is too small for the firefighters to clean and decontaminate their vehicles.
And there are other equipment too, yes.
Yes. So that means that potentially the wastewater generated by the fire station could pollute the groundwater. And that is a good reason to not site the fire station next to people's homes.
Well, so maybe Steve, if you can unmute, but I'll start with, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay. They actually capture that water, but I'm going to let Steve explain it better. Steve Kirby is part of our Owners Project Manager team. Let's see. There we go. So Steve, can you explain what they do to capture the contaminated water?
Yes, the drainage system is designed and constructed to contain that into a what's called a tight tank, and that tight tank is periodically pumped. Nothing goes back into the groundwater or is drained out onto the site itself.
And do we have that at our current station? I think that's a standard all over?
Correct.
Yeah. Cheryl.
Hello. So also just to clarify, in the past few years, I know that it was a very specific component of several commercial developments in our community that they were requiring gray water systems before they would even submit any kind of approvals. If I don't know who's in this meeting that would know the background on that, but I do remember those discussions. And my other comment or question more is I totally support LEEDs zoning and green zoning. But the question I have and the concern I have is, has anybody done any initial viability as to whether or not we could put geothermic at the current site, the 502?
No, we have not. We did that's expensive testing to do, and it's really testing that you want to do in the design phase. No matter, like, we have known all along that we want to work toward the best energy efficiency we can do on whatever parcel we have. I will say that this has been a 12 to 15 year journey to find a site for this new fire station in this community. We cannot add one more constraint. So we can't add a constraint to the site about which is the best site for geothermal. What we need to do is pick a site for all the other criteria we have, and then once we are designing on that site, we're going to try to design the best building we can in terms of energy efficiency. So we're going to test it in the, whichever parcel we end up with, we're going to test it in the design phase and then design to whatever standard we can.
So that means that if any of these sites fail to be able to support that, we still would need to go forward with the development of that site, even if it's taking away our flexibility.
Yes, because we will not have that information at the time. But I will say, Cheryl, we asked the question, can you put in geothermal wells in land that has a high water table? Because we know 502 has a very high water table. In fact, last week or 2 weeks ago, they were digging for a sidewalk and barely dug and hit water. And the answer is yes, you can put geothermal wells in for even in water, land that has a lot of water, high water table. So we don't know that site is constrained that way, and we won't know till we do the needed testing. Johanna. Oh, wait, let me ask to unmute you, so you should be able to unmute. Yep.
So you're talking about $1 million here, $2 million there, $3 million here, but no one talks about the $30 million price tag of the building. And
well,
I want to
ask. We did talk about it. You know it.
Okay, so I want to ask. Ours is a town of 6,000 people. Acton in 2020 approved $11 million to build their fire station. It was completed in 2022. Acton has 24,000 people. How do we justify such a Cadillac cost for such a small town?
So you're not understanding that Acton has 3 firehouses, 4. That was their fourth that they added, and one of those has to be the headquarters. So on 27 when you're heading toward Great Road, on the right is a huge public safety building, and I don't know what they paid on that because they did that many years ago, but they have that. They have the new one they built and 2 others. We will have one fire station that is our headquarters and everything else. It is not going to be a Taj Mahal fire station. It is going to be a fire station that meets the needs today and the needs into the future, which is like the future is estimating 2 more staff and maybe a couple more trucks over the next 30 years or so. And it's short-sighted to build a firehouse that only serves you today, because this is a building at the cost we have that should be meeting your needs for the next 50 plus years. I will also note that the $30 million is a conceptual estimated cost. We haven't designed a building, we haven't gone through value engineering, and it's the all-in cost. It's all the costs we've invested up to this point. It would be the design cost as well as the building cost. And we're hoping to get it even lower.
So when we talk about cost, none of the buildings in Boxborough are new. The elementary school, Blanchard, is over 50 years old. The police station you just mentioned also is old. All these costs are coming at us. And to spend so much money on one fire station instead of consolidating and do a safety building just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I have to say, Johanna, I'm right there with you. If I had my druthers, we would be doing a public safety building. We tried to do that in the town, and the town a couple of years ago did not support that. There are people who believe the police department has a good 14, 15 years left in it, so they did not want to spend the money on a public safety building now. I agree it would be more efficient. It would cost more money now, but in the long term, more efficient, but there wasn't the support for that. So our committee was charged with building a fire station, and it's outside of our purview to look at a public safety building. We tried to look at that, but we were told we cannot look at that.
So how do residents come up with a warrant to bring this up to a vote?
About
Again.
Public safety?
Yes, a public safety building.
Talk with the select board. It's under their purview. Yeah. Cheryl. Oh, sorry, I gotta let you unmute.
So I totally understand Joanna's concern about the cost. However, the question I've got is, this has been in the pipeline for 12 years. We've done numerous potential cost projections. When this was first proposed, what was the estimated cost, and what has been the escalation of costs since that time?
I don't remember because I wasn't involved then. Does anyone in the room know the initial cost? Was it like 11 million? It was about 11 million, we think. We do know our owner's project manager has given us data on a number of projects that have happened over the last 10 or 15 years, and the average escalation is 4 to 5% a year. So it's quite significant, and we are seeing that it goes from, X to Y over time. Yeah. Other questions, comments? I realized the slide deck I opened, it didn't have, I must have opened the wrong version. Because I was also supposed to share a slide that on September 29th, there's going to be an event at the library that is organized by the town planner. And it's going to have, it's a kind of drop-in thing from 5 to 8 p.m., and there's going to be 2 groups there, and each group's going to have 5 tables. And the idea is you can walk up to a table and get some information, go to the next table, and they think any person can flow through in about 20 minutes. So you don't have to be there for all 3 hours. 5 of the tables are going to be about the fire station building and different topics that you can learn more about. The other 5 tables are going to be about the MBTA communities, which is the article that's going up on the second night of town meeting in October, so October 15th, also very important for the community. So to go to that session at the library could be very informative, and it's probably 20 to 30 minutes of your time, 10 minutes for socializing with your neighbors. But you can learn more and be prepared for town meeting. Other questions, comments?
I just want to say thank you to you and the committee for everything.
Oh.
I came to.
Can you pass Carol the microphone?
That long ago.
Yeah, the people online can't hear through this mic, so.
I think it's on and ready to go.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to you and the rest of the committee for all the work you've done. I came over tonight because periodically I go on the cable on demand.
Yeah.
But the last time we were down to one fire station, 72 Stowe Road, and then all of a sudden it went to 13 or 12, and I'm thinking, am I in Bizarro land? So I came over to find out, and I appreciate the
Yeah.
input.
Yeah, you know, so, I will say, town meeting in May, this whole issue became apparent for some people. They had no idea the town had been working on this, so it was kind of like a new thing. So they thought we hadn't looked at any other sites. In fact, the committees over the years have looked at many sites. We did have a list in June of like 14 sites. Many of them had already been looked at, but we looked at again. Some of them were new. Everyone's trying to think outside of the box because people are giving us that feedback. So we did that, but we quickly narrowed down. A lot of sites, we have a lot of water in this town, and the sites look big when you're just driving by, but the wetlands encroaches, so you only have so much usable land. So things fell off because of that, because things weren't for sale or too expensive or this, that, and the other thing. And we have data on all of those sites, but now we're down to the 4 sites to see what we can do. So, yeah. So thanks for coming and learning.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. We'll have more forums. So October, we're going to have town meeting, and then we're hoping to have a town meeting in December where we ask for the design funds, and maybe we'll ask if we can pick a site, or maybe we'll do a couple articles on sites, ask for the money to purchase the site so that we can design a building and then come back and ask for the funds to build that building. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, I just want to say, too, I live on Stowe Road in Sheriff's Meadow, and I am 100% in favor of the fire station being on Stowe Road.
Okay.
To me, every second is a life, and they can't be close enough as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Other thoughts, comments?
It also made great neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, the fire department can make great neighbors. We heard that from someone who's a neighbor at 502. She thinks they're great neighbors, so. All right, well, if there's no other questions or comments, I want to thank you all for coming. I think, you know, when we have important issues like this and MBTA communities, it's so important to get informed before town meeting because it's complex and it's hard to understand it in a short presentation. So thank you for your time tonight. Look for other forums. We'll definitely be doing them between the October and December town meetings. And of course, you can always zoom into our meetings, which are the 2nd and 4th Friday, no, not Friday, Thursdays of the month. So thank you for, you know, taking time to come learn more.